when it comes to Biafra, what I see is everything being done right. Let me put it this way. Again, I say this as an academic. I've been to many places around the world in which people desire their freedom. I've been to Iraqi Kurdistan, Turkish Kurdistan, and Syrian Kurdistan. And I've written a book where, while I empathize with the Kurds, they are not yet ready for independence because they have not taken the basic steps to form a unitary government that can step into the vacuum on day one and lead their people. That is something that the Biafrans have, a mistake the Biafrans have not made. What I see today with the organization of the Biafrans and Syrian Kurdistan. And I've written a book where, while I empathize with the Kurds, they are not yet ready for independence because they have not taken the basic steps to form a unitary government that can step into the vacuum on day one and lead their people. That is something that the Biafrans have, a mistake the Biafrans have not made. What I see today with the organization of the Biafrans has been absolutely and completely admirable. You are not simply symbolically declaring independence. You are setting in motion a government which can take over all functions of the government. Now, some people may complain that Biafra now has its own army, and they may say that is a terrorist action. They are wrong. It is the job of any government to monopolize the use of force within its territory. The Nigerian army is the occupying army right now. Its job is not to monopolize the use of force within Biafra, because they have shown when they use force, they use it not for security, but to perpetrate insecurity. They use it to murder, they use it to rape, they use it to charter buses, to bring in militias, so that people, naive people, may believe that they have nothing to do with what is going on in the region. Now, I'm a historian by training, which means I get paid to predict the past. Also, speaking of pay, let me be clear. I am receiving nothing for my advocacy for Biafra. I have been offered nothing, I have demanded nothing, and I am receiving nothing. Nor would it even be legal for me to accept money from anyone. I am speaking only as an analyst and only as someone who wants to further liberty. Now, I ask as a historian, where has it worked to force the victims of genocide together with their perpetrators? Where in history has that ever worked? Aggressors must understand that if they turn to genocide, they will always lose. The fact of the matter is, Nigeria lost Biafra in 1967. They may have won the war temporarily, but they permanently lost Biafra. The decisions they made 57 years ago forfeited any rights they have to control, to occupy, to speak on behalf of the people of Biafra. Let me conclude by saying, as an analyst again, I don't think the United States will be the first country to recognize Biafra. But I pray that it won't be the third country either. Biafra to move from Finland and to lobby vociferously, night and day, in order to ensure that the African Union recognizes that Biafra is already more organized, already more capable of statehood, already will have a higher standard of living, already will be at peace with itself and its neighbors more than many other African countries. And therefore, it will be a boon to Africa, a boon to the African Union, a boon to the spread of democracy in the region, an anchor for stability in the region, in an area that is increasingly unstable, especially as people come from the north in order to destabilize. So let me conclude by saying with my very short remarks that I wish I could be with you there today. Family prevented me from coming, but I admire what you're doing, I follow what you're doing, and I pray for what you're doing. Long live Biafra.
Including the British, because they are not far-fetched. So it is the high time that the people gain their freedom. It is the right time our referendum need to be recognized. It is the high time Biafra need to be given to the people. It is the high time the freedom fighters get their freedom.
It is clear that there is a growing deficit of trust between people and political establishments and rising threats to the social contract. Even where people are not protesting, they are hurting and want to be heard.
That way now, everybody, things are going differently. And that is why I put it to you, that Biafra is the next country that is coming under Antonio Guterres. Yes, the new country you are talking about, Guterres talk about is not no other country but Biafra. Let me tell you, when the war started, we conquer Nigeria. And I repeat again, we conquer Nigeria. In the third time, we conquer Nigeria. It was as a result of we winning the war.
Okay, finally, we've seen the UN and its president, Gutierrez, Antonio Guterres, finally come out to what? To back Biafra referendum. He said it's our time the world global powers like the Britain, allow, and France allow for the freedom of the people that are seeking for freedom. He also said what he said, the world should be prepared for new countries, and at the same time, we know that Britain is in a bad book of Gutierrez, and at the same time, he said the freedom of the indigenous people is non-negotiable, whether individually or collectively. He said the freedom of the indigenous people is non-negotiable, and the marginalization and also the discrimination of the indigenous people will not be allowed. What's your take as regards Gutierrez coming out to back Biafra referendum finally?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night wherever you are watching us from, irrespective of your time zone. I say may the Lord bless you. I remember humble Sir Benjamin Johnson is a snatchy, aka the Biafran evangelist. Yeah, so far so good. Glory be to God Almighty, because ever since the beginning of this struggle, I told them that Biafra is a spirit, and it is something that cannot be cut short any longer, because years and back in the years when the battle, the civil war began, and fought it, and we continue to fight even up to this very moment. We are still fighting. The Biafrans are still fighting the civil war. It has not ended. Wow. And I give God the glory. Yes, I give God the glory, because somebody like Guterres now has woken up, when things are happening. That's why I love all these Oyibos. Before they will stand up on something, they will do their findings. As I speak to you, some months ago, which I told you people, I don't know if you are following me, although it might not be in this platform, I said it in one of the interviews, and I said it clearly, and I said something. Guterres now visited Enugu, to be precise, Obani in Enugu State. So he was there, and he made some movement within the southeast. He was part of the people. I remember one of the people that did what? That submitted a letter in this year, January 1st, 25 to the UN. And let me tell you, my beloved brother, there is something I want you to understand. When time or something comes, it moves like magnet. So the Biafran time, Igbo freedom has come. And that is why it's moving like a magnet, connecting with the people that matters, the people that are necessary, the people that is needed, the people that are going to play an important role, just like Guterres. Are you hearing me? Now, the young man you said maybe is in the Britain is in the bad book of Guterres. No. But what actually playing now is that the Guterres is trying to respect the fundamental human rights according to the law of the UN, according to the law of the EU, and according to the law of America and every other part of the world, including Nigeria, including the British, because they are not far-fetched. So it is the high time that the people gain their freedom. It is the right time our referendum need to be recognized. It is the high time Biafra need to be given to the people. It is the high time the freedom fighters get their freedom. You see why everything is going the way it's going. Not that it's against the British. You know, before, it was the British that have upper hand in UN. No, remember, UN, United Nations. They were the people that have upper hand. They occupy most of the upper chambers in the house of the UN. That was why they now use their influence. Are you getting me? They use their influence of their position as at that time. The time I'm talking about in the 50s, 60s. And as at that time, America, USSR, Egypt, and the British as well, these are the people that the British law and controlled and used against the Biafrans. Remember, the coup d'etat that took place in Nigeria, January 15, 1966, that eliminated so many prominent Nigerians. You understand? Of which, after the coup d'etat, the late Agre, the first unitary government in Nigeria and the only unitary government in Nigeria so far, was assumed to the throne after the coup d'etat. They are later killed at Ibadan, one of the interior villages in Ibadan. After 7 months, he remained the only Nigerian ever president that ruled 7 months, not even up to a year. I'm talking about Agre. It was after that year. So when Ojukwu now rose, because Yakubu Gowon was not the person that's supposed to assume the office position as at that time. I'm coming the angle of history, which at the end of the day, a Yoruba man was supposed, I could remember then, either Ogundikwe thereabout, was supposed to take over, not to go on. And there is one man from Borno State, from the northern part of Nigeria, after that Yoruba man, that is the person that's supposed to take over after the Yoruba man. None of them took over the power. You see why Ojukwu refused to accept Gowon as the president, as his president. You understand? Then he decided to challenge Gowon. And diplomatically he conquered Gowon because he was highly educated more than Gowon. Well learned more than Gowon. And let me tell you, even as at that time, the late Muhammadu Buhari was the compound soldier, while Ojukwu was the British soldier. Are you hearing me? So at the end of the day, for peace to reign and for Nigeria, as they said, to remain in a scamic language called one Nigeria. That's why I call it scamic statement. Scamming. Yes, scamming. Because Nigeria doesn't have meaning. I don't know if it have meaning in Yoruba. Because in Igbo land, Nigeria means nothing. You understand? I don't know whether Nigeria have meaning in Hausa or Fulani. But in Igbo land, it doesn't have meaning. You understand? That's why I call it a scamic statement. Country. Then, as I was saying, Ojukwu now said, okay, since it has gotten to this point, let's go into diplomatic system. What kind of diplomatic system? They go to court. Under the court of which they reach agreement that they call it Aburi Accord. What was in that Aburi Accord? One of the Aburi Accord signed, stamped by Gowon and Olete Ojukwu was that everybody, that was what Ojukwu wanted, everybody manage the resources in your own judiciary, in your own region. Manage whatsoever that Chukwu Kikabiyama have blessed you with in your land. Manage it. Then you contribute to the federal purse from what the resources has given to you from your region. I don't know whether you are getting it. They both agreed. Gowon signed, Ojukwu signed, because they visited series of courts. They visited the one in Kenya, they visited Ghana, then the final one. And it been that those things was maintained as they agreed, there wouldn't have been need of the civil war. And Nigeria would have developed. Development would have come to this country. Nigeria would have done well and be in a better place, a better position, in a better form, with a better face and a better look than the way you and I are seeing it and meeting it today. But because of the balkanization of that Aburi Accord, that was what made Nigeria to become as useless as it is today. And who are the people that balkanized that Aburi Accord? It was the British, not even Gowon. It was the British. When Gowon landed here in Nigeria, the British called him. And they ordered him not to follow the suit of that Aburi, which he signed. Rather, they should go to war. If Ojukwu wishes or wanted it. And which Ojukwu, being a military man, you understand, now said, okay, you are my junior, even in the military. You are my junior in education. You are my junior even in age. You are my junior in everything in life. You under me. So you don't expect me to be taking law from your hand. It's not going to happen because you are my junior. You get the point here. The killing, just like what happened, which African China used to sing a song. Then came man inside Ajegule. You remember that song? In the year 2000. The same way they massacre people was the same way the Northerners started killing the Easterners. Are you getting it? As at that time, the same way they carry people inside 911 to East in the year 2000 was the same way they brought our people then down to East. They are now provoke Ojukwu. Ojukwu now say, okay, since it has gotten to this, oh yeah, let's go. And as at that time, that is why people who don't know, they will come today, they will tell you, say, Fulanis, Northerners are in majority. Who told you that they are majority? We. They are not a majority.
According to census, they are the number one in terms of population in Nigeria.
They are never, brother. I'm educating you today. And what I'm telling you today.
Who is not the most populous tribe in Nigeria?
Igbos East #1. Baba, what I'm telling you is this. I'm educating you. I know you are young.
Those are dominating
no.
Other regions.
No.
Other countries.
Not like that. Not so.
What is it now? Census. If you, I know,
bro,
if you don't agree.
Calm down, bro. Calm down. What I want you to do, when I finish, pick up your phone, do your findings about what transpired before the arrival of the whites. Do your findings. Even the year this Fulani you are talking about, the came into.
Antonio Guterres has come out publicly to say that freedom fighting, it is not a crime. That is enshrined in the UN Charter, that self-agitation, it is not a crime. So the reason why Sawonepa is still in incarceration, the government needs to tell the world why Finland is still holding Sawonepa and nnamdikanu in detention. That everybody has right to self-agitation. Everybody has right to self-referendum as enshrined in the United Nations Charter, and which Nigeria itself is a signatory to it, that has always kept the country under bondage, whereby you feel that nobody born of man can come up with the issue of division. And now, thank God that the United Nations President Antonio Guterres has come out to say self-agitation is a welcome idea, that anyone who feels they cannot be part of a contraction anymore can excuse themselves. And anyone who feels they cannot belong to a country anymore, they can reach out and exit that country. Why are they still holding those who want to exit the country? Why is Finnish government still holding Sawonepa for fighting for the freedom of people? Why is the Nigerian state still holding nnamdikanu over the Biafra agitation? Why are they still holding him? Because they are holding him because of their own selfish interests. They are holding him all to themselves because they are the one partaking, they are the one enjoying in this one Nigeria. And some of you that is coming out to say one Nigeria, that Nigeria cannot divide. Who told you that the country cannot divide? In 1914, before the amalgamation, don't we have the southern and the northern protectorates? We are not even living together. We are not one. But today, when the British came up with this forcefully marriage, they had to join us together. And now this is that result of that marriage has now brought the country into a stagnant, has now brought the country standstill, has now brought the country whereby the country itself is not moving forward. The country as of today is not moving forward. The country as it stands has remained stagnant for 60 years. So when Ojukwu fought the Civil War, he knew all this. And if Gowon had kept to his own promise after the Agre Accord in Ghana, all this issue of Fulanis, all these issues of Igbos wanting to exit the country would not come up, because I could not really that in the same Agre Accord there was a place that Gowon agreed to restructure the country, that every region would manage their resources, but Gowon came back to the country and refused to implement that, and this has caused a whole lot of chaos now in the country, that we see that Fulanis will migrate from the Sahel and come down to the southern part of the country to torment people, to cause havoc, to cause chaos. And nobody is checkmating the excessive of this so-called Fulanis. So now that now that the UN government has vindicated Samonekpa that self-agitation, it is not a crime, that it is enshrined in the United Nations Charter. So I think the Flemish government have to bury their face in shame. You are only Samonekpa. People are being quiet in the societies on a daily basis. How many persons, how many lives has been lost just because you want to keep Nigeria together? If Nigeria is a state that don't obey the rule of law, are you not saying that the Finnish government or the Finland state should not also obey the rule of law? Are we saying that Finland too should not obey rule of law? The question is, how long can we continue to be in this fake marriage, in this forced marriage that is not working?